Welcome to QuickSpeak English, the podcast that helps you improve your English skills. Today, we're talking about how to move on after a relationship ends.
Yeah. It's never easy. Breakups can be really tough.
For sure. A lot of people struggle with knowing where to even begin after a relationship ends.
Right. And one thing that can really help is to be kind to yourself. This is what we call self-care. Taking care of yourself, your mind, your body.
So what are some things someone can do for self-care after a breakup?
Well, the basics are really important. Getting enough sleep, eating healthy food, and moving your body.
It's easy to forget about those things when you're feeling down.
It is. It takes a conscious effort, but it's worth it. When you take care of your physical needs, you create a stronger foundation for emotional healing.
So self-care is not just about bubble baths and face masks.
Not at all. It's about taking actions that show yourself respect and care. It can be as simple as going for a walk or choosing a healthy meal.
It sounds like building resilience, that ability to bounce back from tough times.
That's exactly right. And another important way to build resilience is setting healthy boundaries with your ex.
What do you mean by boundaries?
Being clear about what kind of contact is okay with your ex and what isn't, how often you'll communicate, or even having no contact at all.
So it's about protecting yourself.
Yes. You're allowed to take space to heal and process.
What if they don't respect your boundaries?
Then you need to be assertive. Communicate your needs directly and respectfully. We call these I statements.
Like what?
Instead of saying, "You're always texting me," you could say, "I feel overwhelmed when I get a lot of messages. I need some time to myself."
Right. That focuses on your own experience.
Exactly. And if your boundaries are crossed, it's important to follow through. This could mean not responding or repeating your boundary clearly.
So it's about taking action.
Consistency is key. And remember, setting boundaries is healthy in any relationship, not just after a breakup. It's about respecting yourself and your needs.
After a breakup, a lot of people say they feel empty, like something is missing.
That's very common. You've lost someone who was a big part of your life. But it's important to remember that you are whole even without that person.
How do you start to feel whole again?
One way is to do activities that help you become more self-aware. Journaling, meditation, or even spending time in nature.
Those sound like solitary activity.
They may seem that way, but what they do is help you reconnect with yourself.
So you're filling the void with a deeper understanding of yourself.
Yes. And as you understand yourself better, you start to rebuild your self-worth and find things that make you happy.
It's about rediscovering yourself outside of the relationship.
Exactly. And as you rediscover yourself, you can set goals that are meaningful to you, goals that are separate from your past relationship.
These goals could be anything, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything that sparks your interest. And as you achieve these goals, you feel more confident. And that helps to fill the void.
So it's about replacing what's been lost with a new sense of self and purpose.
That's a great way to put it. And it's important to remember that you don't have to do this alone. Friends, family, or even a therapist can provide invaluable support.
Having support makes a big difference.
It really does. Be patient with yourself. Healing takes time. It's okay to have good days and bad days.
It's a journey, not a race.
Exactly. Be kind to yourself. Celebrate the small victories. Trust that you will heal and move forward.
That's great advice. Now, for our listeners who are learning English, the concept of emotional detox is a really interesting one.
Yeah, it really is. It's about, clearing out emotional residue from the relationship and creating space for healing.
Kind of like hitting the reset button on your emotional state.
Exactly. It's about letting go of any negativity or hurt that you're holding on to.
But how do you actually do that? It sounds kind of abstract.
Well, it's actually more practical than you might think. Remember how we talked about self-care?
Yeah.
Those basic practices are essential for an emotional detox.
You mean like sleeping enough, eating well, exercising?
Absolutely. When you take care of your physical body, it creates a stable foundation for dealing with emotional challenges.
Right. Makes sense. But what about the emotional processing itself? How do you detox those negative feelings?
Mindfulness and meditation can be really helpful. These practices help you to just observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment.
So you're not trying to make those feelings go away?
No, not at all. You're creating space between yourself and your emotions so you can see them more clearly.
So instead of being swept away by sadness or anger, you're learning to just observe it.
Exactly. And as you become more aware of your emotions, you can start to accept them and let them go.
That sounds like it takes practice.
It does, but like any skill, the more you practice, the better you get at it.
Okay, so mindfulness and meditation are important. What else is involved?
Another crucial step is allowing yourself to grieve the loss of the relationship. This means acknowledging the pain, the sadness, anger, whatever you feel.
So not trying to be strong and pretend everything's okay.
No, actually the opposite. Bottling up your emotions will only make it harder to heal. Allow yourself to feel those emotions. And it's okay to cry, to vent, to express your pain.
So you have to feel it to heal it.
That's a good way to put it. And remember, an emotional detox isn't about getting rid of all negative emotions. It's about learning to process them in a healthy way.
So you're not aiming for emotional numbness. You're building your capacity to feel a wider range of emotions.
Exactly. It's about developing emotional resilience, being able to bounce back from difficult experiences.
Anything specific our listeners can do to cultivate that resilience?
Lots of things. But one that's often overlooked is the power of reframing, looking at the situation from a different perspective.
Like how?
Well, instead of seeing the breakup as a failure, you might see it as an opportunity for growth. Or instead of focusing on what you lost, you could focus on what you learned.
Shifting your focus to the positive.
Or at least a more neutral perspective. It's not about denying the pain. It's about choosing to focus on aspects that can help you move forward.
That's powerful. So emotional detox isn't just about healing from a breakup. It's about equipping yourself with skills that will help you in life in general.
You got it. These are valuable life skills that can help you navigate any challenge.
And speaking of valuable life skills, one of the things that often suffers after a breakup is self-confidence. How can someone rebuild that?
That's a great question. Many people struggle with that. You might start to doubt yourself or wonder if you'll ever find love again. It's important to remember that those feelings are normal, but they don't have to define you.
So how do you start to feel good about yourself again?
Well, one way is to pay attention to your self-talk. You know, the things you say to yourself. Challenge the negative thoughts.
Like if you're thinking, I'm not good enough, you question that thought.
Exactly. Ask yourself, is that really true? What evidence do I have? And often you'll find that those negative thoughts are based on fear, not facts. And once you challenge those thoughts, you can start to replace them with more positive ones.
So instead of saying, I'm unlovable, you might say, I am worthy of love.
Right. It might feel strange at first, but the more you practice, the more you'll believe it.
Like retraining your brain.
Exactly. And another way to boost your confidence is to do things that help you grow, like learn a new language, or take up a hobby, or pursue a career goal.
Finding things you're passionate about.
Yes, but it's also about setting new goals, goals that are completely separate from your past relationship.
Proving to yourself that you can still achieve things on your own.
You got it. And as you work towards those goals and achieve them, you'll feel more confident.
It's like you're reclaiming your power and independence.
Exactly. And don't forget physical self-care. We talked about it before, but it's so important.
So getting enough sleep, eating healthy, and exercising can actually help boost your confidence.
Absolutely. When you take care of your physical health, it has a positive impact on your mental and emotional health.
It's all connected.
It really is. And another important thing is to surround yourself with supportive people.
Like friends and family.
Yes. When you're going through a tough time, you need people who will remind you of your strengths.
Yeah, those positive voices can be so helpful.
They really can. And finally, I want to encourage you to reflect on what you've learned from the relationship.
Every experience, even a painful one, can teach us something.
Exactly. Maybe you learned more about what you want in a partner, or maybe you discovered a strength you didn't know you had.
Turning the experience into an opportunity for growth.
Exactly. And that's a powerful way to build confidence, to know that you can take something difficult and use it to become a better version of yourself.
So we've been talking about how to move on after a relationship ends. And one thing that can really help is what's called an emotional detox.
Great. It's about, clearing out all that emotional baggage from the relationship and creating space for healing.
Where do you even start with that?
Well, actually, it starts with taking care of your body.
Okay.
Remember, we talked about self-care. Those basic practices are really important here, too. Making sure you're sleeping enough, eating healthy foods, staying hydrated, and moving your body.
So all that stuff is really important.
Absolutely. It's like laying a strong foundation for a house. When your body feels good, it's much easier to deal with emotional challenges.
So that's the physical part. But what about actually detoxing your emotions?
Well, that's where mindfulness and meditation come in. These practices can help you to just, observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Okay.
It's about becoming more aware of your emotions without letting them control you.
So you're not trying to ignore your feelings.
No, it's more about creating space between yourself and your emotions so you can see them more clearly.
So instead of like getting totally overwhelmed by sadness or anger,
Mm-hmm.
you're learning to just sort of notice it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Hmm.
watching clouds pass by. You see them, you acknowledge them, but you don't try to hold on to them.
Right. And as you become more aware of those emotions, you can start to let them go. So what else is involved in this emotional detox?
Well, another important part is allowing yourself to grieve, to actually feel the sadness or the anger or whatever else comes up.
You mean you shouldn't try to just like be strong and pretend you're not hurting?
No, actually, it's better to let yourself feel those emotions. Don't bottle them up. Let yourself cry or vent or express your pain in healthy ways.
So it's like you have to feel it to heal it.
Yeah. And remember, an emotional detox isn't about getting rid of all negative emotions. It's about learning to process them in a healthy way.
So you're not trying to become numb.
Right. You're trying to develop what's called emotional resilience, which means being able to bounce back from difficult experiences.
Okay, that makes sense. So an emotional detox is really about a lot more than just getting over a breakup.
That's right. It's about developing skills that will help you in all areas of life. It's about taking care of your emotional well-being, just like you take care of your physical health.
That's a great point. Well, this has been really insightful. Thanks for sharing your expertise with us today.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
And for all of our listeners who are using this podcast to improve their English, I encourage you to listen to this episode again. Really pay attention to all the vocabulary we used.
Yes, and you can also visit our website. You'll find a link in the description. We have vocabulary lists and exercises and lots of other resources that can help you improve your English skills.
Awesome. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on QuickSpeak English. We'll see you next time.